Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here with the top of the second hour. That's right, you heard it right, the second hour of Fire Your MD now, and we have a very special guest. Who could that be at the door? Let me tell you who that is at the door. My colleague, my mentor, my friend, Dr. Joel Wallach. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Wallach. Dr. Wallach, at 73, I think, he'll have to clarify that, 73 or 74 years of age, gives over 300 free lectures a year. 300 free lectures a year. He's the founder of the Longevity Company. He has sued the Food and Drug Administration 8 times. He was involved, published $25 million of federally funded research that happened from 1970 to 1982. It's now in the Smithsonian Institution. Dr. Wallach himself has been published over 70 times. He has the widest array of pragmatic medical knowledge of any physician that I've ever met. Since I've been following Dr. Wallach's therapeutics, since I've been using Dr. Wallach's methods, since I've been using Dr. Wallach's products as delivered by the Longevity Company and the family of companies now under the wing of Longevity, the clinical results that I'm getting with my patients eclipses anything that I had previously seen. Dr. Wallach's therapeutics produce more remarkable, specific, and measurable and noticeable change than anything I had previously been exposed to. And ladies and gentlemen, after 20 years of practicing naturopathic medicine, 24 years, clinically you're exposed to quite a bit. It is my privilege and my honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you the one and the only Dr. Joel Wallach. Hey, how about that, Dr. Wallach? Happy New Year and welcome aboard.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Glidden. Happy New Year, and thank you for the very kind words and introduction. It's an honor to be on your show.
Well, I always tell everybody, Doc, that if I seem tall to them, it's only because I'm standing on your shoulders. And you know, the naturopathic medical profession is a very small profession. It's not that tight-knit. It needs to be, quite frankly, a little bit more tight-knit. And, you know, of all of the practicing naturopathic physicians, you have always been out in front of the curve. And really, my hat goes off to you, brother. Thanks so much for being with me today. Let's talk about mammograms. What do you think?
Okay, well, I've been railing against any of these medical screening exams because they're marketed as a prevention. And, of course, there's not a single medical screening exam, whether it's a PSA test for men's prostates, colonoscopic exams for colon cancer, mammograms for breast cancer, routine chest x-rays for things. None of these tools that the doctors have developed are, in fact, none of them are actually a prevention. They might get you in the treatment system earlier, which may be a bad or a good thing, but certainly I've been railing against them as a prevention for, oh gosh, at least 30 years. Well, here comes November 2012. The New England Journal of Medicine did a study on 30 years of mammograms, and they said, Houston, we have a problem here, that there's a 31% false positive. A 31% false positive. To date, over 30 years, there's been 1.3 million false positives. After they removed the breast, done the treatment, they went back and looked, and there wasn't any cancer there. The worst year was 2008 with a 70,000 false positives scorecard for mammograms.
70,000.
Medical school came out 10 years ago and said, don't get them.
Yeah. 70,000. I mean, that's crazy. You know, that means 70,000 women were improperly diagnosed with breast cancer when they really didn't have breast cancer, and they only found out that it wasn't breast cancer after they went in and did the invasive surgery, right?
Yeah, exactly true. And also in many cases, because, a week went by before somebody looked at the breast in the icebox, there was chemotherapy and radiation had already been done also.
Yeah, it's crazy. And how many of the doctors that performed the unnecessary surgery that made the misdiagnosis, how many of those doctors lost their license or had some type of financial, recourse? How many?
Zero.
Now, if a naturopathic physician improperly diagnosed breast cancer in one patient, what would happen to them?
Well, there'd be a hue and cry from the medical system as a whole to banish naturopathic doctors from America.
Yeah, and this is the problem, right? We have become so culturally conditioned to genuflect at the altar of MD-directed medicine that even when they get it wrong, even when their therapeutics harm us, even when their therapeutics kill us, we give them a pass. It's unbelievably infuriating to me and extremely frustrating.
Well, join the club. I'll give you a couple of examples of some famous people last year that were actually killed with elective procedures. None of these three people needed these procedures. They were elective. They weren't, two of them really didn't have any problems at all. One of them had a minor problem that could have been dealt with nutrition. Andy Rooney from 60 Minutes was going to go on a cruise with his wife, 92 years old, retired after all the years at 60 Minutes. And the doctor says, you know, Andy, you're 92 years old, and look through your records, you've never had a colonoscopic exam. Let's do one. Andy objected, but he insisted. So Andy said, okay, I just want to go on my cruise. The doctor sticks the proverbial garden hose up Andy Rooney's rump, punctures his intestine. 3 days later, he's dead. Didn't need it.
Unbelievable.
Doesn't name the doctor, doesn't name the facility, because that might interrupt their cash flow. You know, people might people might cancel their own colonoscopic exams if they gave the doctors and facilities a name.
Right.
And then Dick Clark, the oldest teenager, the American Bandstand guy, had an enlarged prostate, and so the doctors surgically roto-rooted his prostate out so he could urinate faster. I don't even know if that was a problem, but they roto-rooted out his prostate. And within an hour of the procedure, he was dead from a blood clot. 200,000 American men have cerebral thrombotic stroke or coronary thrombosis after this procedure, within an hour after the procedure. Of those 200,000 that have the blood clot, 30,000 die within an hour. And, of course, people aren't informed of that. And then there was Neil Armstrong, our top astronaut, the first guy to step foot on the moon, personally saved two NASA spacecraft and saved the two crews from imminent disaster. Personally did that. I went in for his physical, 82 years old. He was told he was just doing great. And the doctor said, you know, you're great. You're 50. You have a body of a 55-year-old. You're 82 years old. But the only thing we can find is you got 30% blockage in one coronary artery. Let's do a bypass right now. Let's put in a stent. We'll give you a twofer for the price of one. That way we won't have to worry 5 or 10 years down the line of a heart attack. So he agreed. He died of, quote, complications of an elective cardiovascular procedure, unquote.
And nobody goes to jail.
The doctor wasn't named, didn't get there was no investigation. If Al-Qaeda would have killed Neil Armstrong, we'd have sent SEAL Team 6 in and blasted him apart.
It's true, Doc. I mean, this is it. The MDs have been in the driver's seat of medicine for so long in this country that everybody just takes for granted that they're the go-to people, that they're, you know, the gods of medicine, the emperors of medicine. Everybody else is back of the bus, quite frankly. Not everybody else, not even on the bus. And even though the MD-directed therapeutics consistently fail to help us with our health, even though MD-directed therapeutics consistently hurt us, and even though MD-directed therapeutics are the leading cause of death in the United States, the current political agenda of the current administration is to have everybody have mandatory access to conventional American medicine, and it drives me crazy. I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to you-know-where in a handbasket in this country, and this is why we advise you not to fight the pharmaceutical industry, not to fight with your MD, just to ignore them. There's no law that makes it mandatory for you to see them. There's going to be a law that makes it mandatory for you to have insurance. Oh, you know, my advice, get catastrophic insurance, not comprehensive insurance, and so that you will be covered in case you're hit by a car or T-boned in the intersection, or heaven forbid you break a leg skiing or whatever. You know, this is their domain. This is the domain of the MD, is acute trauma, trauma care, emergency medicine. This is what they're good for. It's unbelievably expensive because it's a for-profit, out-of-control machine. So buy catastrophic insurance to cover yourself in the case of an emergency. That way you'll be in compliance with the law, but don't see your MD for any other reason. As a matter of fact, what Dr. Wallach and I both advise you to do is to fire your MD. Just fire your MD now, and instead of buying medical insurance, and think about it this way, folks. When you buy medical insurance, what are you doing? You're betting you're going to get so darn sick you won't be able to afford it, right? Right. That's what medical insurance is. So rather than throw good money after bad down a dry well of medical insurance, it's better to spend that money on nutritional supplements and education so that you can clean your diet up and provide your body with the fundamental 90 essential nutrients that it needs to maintain and recover its health. And that is the best medical insurance in the world, is a healthy body. Now, Dr. Wallach, you were the founder of Youngevity. How many years ago did the Youngevity company get started?
Well, Youngevity, as we know it today, started 18 years ago, but we started on this trail back in 1978. Okay, so that's 22, that's 34 years ago.
And in the last year, in 2012, what type of financial results did the Youngevity company realize?
Oh, you mean its gross sales?
Yeah, gross sales. I mean, how much did it increase? Went up 300%, didn't it?
Oh, went up 1,100%.
1,100%. Well, that's more than 300%. 1,100% in this economy. 1,100% growth in this economy. To what do you attribute that?
Well, the best thing that happened to many people, Dr. Glidden, was that they lost their insurance. They began to look for options. They've been, to getting their knees replaced, for instance, when they have bone-to-bone arthritis in their knees. And it's going to cost $40,000 a knee, and they don't have insurance anymore, so they say, well, wait a minute, I can't afford $80,000. My house is upside down. I can't even get a loan. They begin to look, and they say, well, okay, I'll try this healthy bone and joint pack from Youngevity, and in 60, 90 days, we've been able to, quote, support and promote maintenance repair of that cartilage. The doctors are freaked out.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden. You're listening to another live edition of Fire Your MD Now. Please visit the website of the same name, fireyourmdnow.com. It's a call in and talk to me in this live radio broadcast, 866-582-9933. That's 866-582-9933. And if you're listening to the podcast and would like information about the business opportunity, the health opportunity, or just to speak to a live human being about all of this stuff, that number, 855-347-3696. Now, we're talking to Dr. Wallach, the founder of Youngevity, my mentor, my colleague, and my friend. Now, Doc, years ago, you made an unpopular decision, and that was to set Youngevity up, your Youngevity business, as a networked business. Explain for us the rationale behind that logic.
Yeah, actually, it started back in 1980, long before Youngevity as we know it's a gleam in our eye. And that's because I was a widower with 4 little kids. I was a medical student at that time. I was a veterinarian going to school to become a naturopathic physician, and also was teaching full-time nutrition. And so I didn't have enough time, and I had to leverage my time. And so my 3 office people who I had actually bought a practice before I graduated and hired an MD to, run it as a licensed doctor until I graduated. All the help wanted raises, and I couldn't afford to give them raises. I said, we'll have to see another 100 patients a week just to pay for the raises. And so I got interested in network marketing as a way of leveraging time. I began to sponsor patients literally underneath the employees and say, look, if you employees go out and share this information with your friends and bring them in here as patients, your check will go up. And actually, within 6 months' time, they're making considerably more than the raise they were asking for. And by 2 years' time, they're making more from the network marketing piece, helping other people who would never come to my office and see me, but they were giving out my information to these people, and they're making more money than I was paying them. And so I learned very quickly that I could actually leverage my time. Well, today I have over 1 million, I would call physicians' assistants, if you will, who work with us through the various companies, 22 companies now that we've acquired in the family of companies with longevity, 22. So I'm very proud of that. And we've been able to leverage our time in 50 countries, 50 countries. And so longevity spread much farther and much faster. That's why we're able to grow 1,100%, because I have an army of over 1 million physicians' assistants, if you will, who are helping me spread the message. If I was doing it by myself, there's only 8 hours in a day, 10 hours in a day, 15 hours a day, whatever you could spend, only 7 days a week, and there'd be a limit. A dentist can only drill so many teeth in a day. And so I had to find a way of competing with the medical system, which has legislated themselves into a protected monopoly. They're the only ones that got paid by insurance. So I had to find a way, and that's why I chose network marketing, because for a one-time fee today of $10, people can be one of our associates, which I liken to be a physician's assistants. We train them to know more about health and nutrition and repairing a person's illnesses and injuries than a medical doctor knows. So we can train them to do that. We train them for nothing, and we built this army. And that's how we were able to grow 1,100% in 1 year, and we're now doubling every month. So that's pretty grand when you look at it in this economy.
Yeah, I tell you what, Doc, when I was a naturopathic physician with just a private practice, in a good year, I'd be able to treat about 200, 250 new people. 250 people, that's pretty good in 1 year. But as a longevity representative, as a longevity associate, as a longevity business builder, the sky is the limit. And one of the times that really my eyes were opened to the possibilities of network marketing inside of the conversation of healthcare. I went to a lecture that you gave in Kankakee, Illinois, and it was me and you and a room full of about 15 to 20 people, most of whom were African Americans, and I think maybe 2 of them had a college education. And collectively, those people had helped about 10 times as many people as I had helped in my career. And that was the day that my head exploded, and I really realized what you and longevity were up to. Ladies and gentlemen, we are building a grassroots coalition of the informed to help your family and your church members and your community members to recover their health, because conventional medicine has let us all down, and they've let us down hard. If you'd like information about what you can do right now to help yourself, your friends, and your family members recover their health, go to FireYourMDNow.com. Click on the longevity button and join us. Join our coalition of the informed. Dr. Wallach, a shout out to you in 26 seconds. Thank you for everything that you do. Keep up the good work. Where are you headed next?
Actually, I'm going to Nashville, Tennessee, Georgia, and North Carolina.
Go get them, Doc. Give them both barrels this time. 2013 is going to be the best year yet. Ladies and gentlemen, taking your calls when we come back. Like the fella said, ladies and gentlemen, you don't know what you don't know. And when it comes to health, the stuff that you don't know is going to kill you or it's going to heal you. And the problem that we have in the United States, quite frankly, in all industrialized nations, is that the type of medicine that's practiced by the MDs who are in the driver's seat of medicine here and who have been in the driver's seat of medicine for the last 100 years, the type of medicine that they practice is referred to as allopathic reductionism. Medical doctors, bless their hearts, do not practice medicine. They practice allopathic reductionism. And allopathic reductionism argues that the human body does not have the capacity to fix itself. Allopathic reductionism argues that there is no innate intelligence, there is no innate metaphysical vital force, no soul force present in the human being. Now, when a human body is sick, your only option is to march in with synthetic drugs which override and control the operation of the human body. Your medical doctor does not look at you like a person. Your medical doctor looks at you like an animal. The same way, you looked at lab rats when you were in, high school science class. Well, if you're among the enlightened, you looked at the lab rat as a living, breathing, sentient being, and, you were a little loath to do the dissection, right? You'd rather let the animal live, let him go free, right? Free Willy, for goodness sake. But medical doctors are trained that if it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. And this type of reasoning is referred to as Newtonian physics, based on the machinations of the mind of Sir Isaac Newton. And then that was articulated moving forward into the 16th and 17th and 18th centuries, 19th, 20th, and 21st century, we really haven't let go of Newtonian physics. And Newtonian physics argues that if it can't be measured, it doesn't exist. So since nobody has dissected the soul out of a corpse, or a living, breathing human being, since nobody has ever visualized the soul with an MRI or a CT scan, therefore it doesn't exist, it can't exist. And it is our argument that it is the presence of the soul in the human body which animates the human body, as is evidenced by the fact that when you die, when your soul leaves the building, the body decays. Look, it's the same amalgam of biochemicals 1 second before death and 1 second after death. So what's the difference? Why does all of a sudden the body start to decay? Because the soul force is gone. And it is the intelligence of the soul force which is keeping the whole kit and caboodle together. It is the intelligence of the soul force which regulates all of the genetic machinations in your body, which tells your chromosomes when to do their jobs, when to divide, when to fragment, when to, reproduce themselves. We do have a genetic code. But what is it that turns that switch on? What is it that regulates the genetic code? You can have a program, but if the program, isn't inside the computer, and if the computer isn't turned on, well, it's not going to do you much good. Well, so it is with the genetic code inside the human body. And my colleague, Dr. Wallach, who we just interviewed, is finishing up his next book. Doc's, one of the things I forgot to mention is he's written over 11 books. His next one is called Epigenetics, the Death of the Gene Theory of Disease Transmission. Medical doctors use the concept of genetics as a scapegoat. They use the concept of genetics to argue that, the reason that you got heart disease, the reason that you got high blood pressure, the reason that you got type 2 diabetes, the reason that your joints exploded is not the doctor's fault. It can't be the doctor's fault. It can't be because the doctor has piss-poor therapeutics. It can't be because the doctor is offering outdated therapeutics. It can only be because it's your fault. It can't possibly be the doctor's fault. Can't possibly be the doctor's fault. So it must therefore be your fault. You have a bad gene. Well, guess what? You don't have a bad gene. Your genes are perfectly good. What you do not have is enough minerals, enough vitamins, enough essential fatty acids, enough amino acids, and enough antioxidants to keep the genetic code intact. And so when your genes and your enzymes and your nerves and your tendons and your cardiovascular system, your veins and your joints and your hearts and your arteries, and when your skin and when all of the different organ systems of your body lose the nutrients that they need, including your genes, when your genes lose the nutrients that they need to stay healthy, they start to break. Now, when a gene starts to break, that's bad, because, it doesn't get any further down the pecking order than the gene. When the genetic code starts to decay, a lot of bad things will happen, and this is referred to loosely now in the science of medicine as epigenetics, and it is altered gene expression due to environmental stress. And the major environmental stress that affects your genes, affects your entire body, is not enough nutrition. If you don't have enough zinc, the gene that codes for Down syndrome is activated. Well, it's not activated. There's no gene that codes for Down syndrome. Let me phrase that differently. When you don't have enough zinc, your chromosomes are damaged. And when your chromosomes are damaged in a particular part of the gene array, you get Down syndrome. If you had plenty of zinc, that wouldn't happen. When you don't have enough selenium, selenium being a mineral like calcium, like zinc, and a certain part of the chromosomal material, your genetic material, is damaged, you get cystic fibrosis. When another part of the same genetic material is damaged, it's not gene A or gene B, it's gene C. When that gene is damaged, you get cystic fibrosis, or you get muscular dystrophy. Selenium deficiencies is the cause of both cystic fibrosis and muscular dystrophy. It's damage to different parts of the genetic array. But medical doctors don't know this because medical doctors have no respect for medical nutrition. They think, nutrition is childish. They think it's juvenile. They think it's an afterthought because they're not trained in it. And their thinking is that, well, if I wasn't trained in it, it can't be valid. And this is the biggest blunder that medical doctors make because they believe their own BS. Medical students believe that their teachers, that their professors at their medical institutions are offering them the best that medical science has to offer. And this is the biggest blunder, this is the biggest mistake that they make. Because their medical schools, their professors, their hospitals, their teaching facilities are not offering them the best that medicine has to offer. They're offering one very small slice of the medical pie. But because medical students, aren't that open-minded, because they're not that courageous, because they're inclined to just be one of those people that follows the leader without question, like the Nazis, like the Stalinists of Russia, pre-World War II, they do what all their colleagues do without question. It's lockstep medicine without question, without question. Medical students believe that if they weren't taught it in medical school, it's just not valid. What difference does it make that Ayurvedic medicine has been around for 3,000 years? That can't be valid. What difference does it make that acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine have been around for 5,000 years? That can't be valid. What difference does it make that homeopathic medicine is used by the Queen of England and is practiced in all European countries? It can't be valid because I wasn't taught it in medical school. That's how they think. And furthermore, their education is completely encapsulated inside of the box of Newtonian physics. And Newtonian physics has an inherent flaw that medical doctors are blind to. They don't see it. And what's the flaw? The flaw is that the soul exists. The human soul exists. And it is the human soul inside of the physical body that gives rise to all of the physical permutations, all of the psychological permutations of the human body. It is the soul force that keeps the whole thing running. But because the MDs don't believe in the presence of the soul, to them, it can't exist, inside the body. So it can't have anything to do with any of the workings of the human body. And the human body isn't intelligent. We argue that it is because the soul force is there, but the MD says, no, it's just this random collection of biochemicals that happened in some primordial swamp and, stimulated by an electrical bolt from the clouds. You got to be kidding me. That's what they think. And it's nonsense. Your body is endowed with a God-given intelligence. Your body knows how to fix itself, and your body wants to fix itself. It is the job of the physician to provide your body with the raw materials and the energy, the stimulation that it needs in order to function properly. So what do you have to do? You have to give the body the stuff that it needs to keep its eyes, its ears, its nose, its mouth, its heart, its joints, its nerves, its brain, its skin, all of its organs. You need to give it the stuff it needs to stay healthy, the 90 essential nutrients. When you give the body the 90 essential nutrients and stop eating food that's gumming up the works, your body fixes itself. It's that simple. Now, there are things that are beyond your body's ability to repair. There are things that you've waited too long. There are things that have gone south too far. You've waited too long to be able to fix it. But those things are rare. Most of the time, your body has the ability to fix itself. What it's lacking is the raw materials. You don't have high blood pressure because you have a hydrochlorothiazide deficiency or a Lasix deficiency, for goodness sake. You don't have insomnia because you have a lunesta deficiency, although that's what the MDs would like to convince you. And you certainly don't have depression because you have a Cymbalta deficiency or a Prozac deficiency. You have these conditions because your body has run out of the stuff it needs to keep itself healthy, and your soul force is struggling to keep everything together. But, you know, I mean, it's no different than your car. Your car runs out of oil, engine seizes. Your tires run out of air, they go flat. You run out of gas, you're not going anywhere. You run out of transmission fluid, you can't shift the gears. You run out of power steering fluid, it takes, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day to turn the wheel even 1 centimeter. You can't do it. Is there anything inherently wrong with the car? No. It's just lost all of its raw materials. Same with your body. Ladies and gentlemen, give your body the raw materials that it needs. Stop eating the foods that are gumming up the works. Increase your consumption of antioxidants, and then get the heck out of the way. You're going to be amazed at what your body does. And this is not snake oil. For goodness sake, the only people selling snake oil have MD after their name, right? Because, whoa, what's snake oil? Oh, it's a medicine that's supposed to do A, but it does B instead. It's very expensive and it hurts you. Like prescription meds that are on the FDA's watch list now with class action lawsuits being levied against them. Over 30 drugs approved by the FDA have class action lawsuits against them because they hurt you. If that's not snake oil, I don't know what is. 866-582-9933. Give me a call. I'm going to talk to you about all things related to health. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden here. Winding up the first 2-hour segment. Thank you very much for your support, all of the listeners. It is because of you that we can move forward here in 2013. We're making a big noise with 2 hours every day, so tell your friends and family members. It's 2 hours now, 2 hours of Fire Your MD now from 3 to 5 Central, Monday through Friday. That's 3 to 5 Central Time, Monday through Friday. Now, the MDs, because of their adherence to conventional Newtonian physics, you know, which over the centuries has become to be more specifically referred to as science, right? There used to be natural science and science. It's a pretty complicated evolution of scientific thought. But in the last 100 years, arguably, people who refer to themselves as scientists dismiss anything that cannot be empirically measured. So to the scientist, metaphysics, which refers to as all of the stuff in the world that cannot be measured through inductive reasoning, it cannot be measured objectively, a scientist must, by definition, reject all things metaphysical. And this is crazy. And this leads to one of life's greatest ironies, that a scientist or a medical doctor may be a very religious person. You know, they may be a God-fearing, quote-unquote, I hate that term, so I'm not going to use it anymore. They might be a religious person. They might be a spiritual person. They might go to church. They might do daily meditations. They might do whatever it is that they do in order to align themselves with God, however they perceive that alignment to be. Every day they might do it. But when they go to work, they have to throw all that aside, because the medical doctor specifically, and we're going to talk about medical doctors because that's what we do here on this show, the medical doctor is trained to clinically not believe it. He cannot believe in the existence of the soul, which leads to one of life's greatest ironies, that a medical doctor who's religious is a hypocrite. Because that's like being a communist at work and a Democrat at home. You're a communist when you're at work, but you're a Democrat at home. They are 180 degrees opposite. You can't have it both ways. But this is what medical doctors do. They have thrown the metaphysical baby out with the bathwater. And because they do not accept anything metaphysical, anything beyond the bounds of science to be able to measure, to them, it's all, one biochemical souffle. And this is why they get it wrong all the time. Well, let's talk about weight loss, or weight gain specifically, because that's going to be our theme moving forward in the first part of January this year. It's going to be all about weight loss. And tomorrow, We're going to hear some great weight loss testimonials, and I'm going to line up a weight loss program specifically for everybody with Step A, Step B, and Step C. If you're interested in weight loss, if you have anybody in your life that wants to lose weight, that's frustrated with Jenny Craig, that's frustrated with Weight Watchers, that's frustrated with the Atkins diet, like Ashley James, they tried 30 different weight loss programs. None of them work permanently. Tune in tomorrow and stay tuned all next week. We are dialing in the weight loss conversation 100%. But look, it's not that difficult to understand, because when it comes to weight gain or any other chronic disease, our position is that the body is doing what it needs to do to its benefit. There is a reason that the body is doing what it's doing. It's not because there's been some fundamental defect in the architecture of the human genome. It's not because you have a bad gene. It's because you have a bad doctor. But because your doctor does not believe that your body has the ability to fix itself, they're completely in the dark. So here's how it goes with weight loss. Your body needs 90 essential nutrients in order to maintain the health of its organs. You're lucky if you get 20 from the food that you eat, so you're 60 or so nutrients down. As the stress of life impacts your body, your nutrient stores get less and less and less, and when your nutrient stores are at a certain level of lessness, your body freaks out, because it knows that the heart's going to explode, the kidney's going to explode, the liver's going to explode. You're going to lose your mind, literally, if you don't get enough nutrition. So your body forces you to eat in the desperate attempt to fill its nutritional tank. And yet Jenny Craig will tell you to thwart that instinct. Just dial in 1,200 calories. Bite the bullet. You can do it. Well, guess what? No, you can't. They got it wrong. The MDs got it wrong. We get it right every time. So tell everybody in your life about weight loss starting tomorrow and moving forward all next week right here on Fire Your MD Now, and visit the website fireyourmdnow.com. I'm Dr. Peter Glidden. See you tomorrow, and Happy New Year.